Yellowstone rattled by earthquakes around the area, Idaho and Utah. How will this seismicity affect the Yellowstone supervolcano? Well, we know that there is a mantle plume stretching from Baja all the way under Utah and Idaho. We've been told of the supervolcanoes of Utah and Nevada, and we know that Idaho has a series of volcanoes leading to Yellowstone. Well, look, here we have the magma plume from Baja stretching all the way through Utah into Yellowstone. And the recent quakes that we had on the 18th and the 31st, the 18th was the 5.7 that we had at Utah, Salt Lake City, and those quakes are still ongoing there. And that was followed by the bigger earthquake of magnitude 6.5 in Utah in the craters of the moon, and we still have quake swarms going on there, even though from what I see, the Salt Lake City quakes have stopped. The swarm has stopped. The Idaho quakes have not stopped. And let's remember that we have 9 volcanoes in Idaho, just west of Yellowstone supervolcano, and we have 8 volcanoes south of Salt Lake City. And of course that's logical because that's where we have a mantle plume. And this is it. This is from the tangent that we saw, the cross-section going from Baja to Yellowstone. And you can see that it's very close to the surface, as you can see there. And that's going towards Yellowstone and the area of Idaho and Utah. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. Now, according to what Caldera Chronicles is telling us, this is what comes out every Monday, and this just came out a few hours ago. What's with all these earthquakes, and will they affect Yellowstone? It's a weekly column written by scientists of Yellowstone supervolcano and collaborators, and this week's contributions from Mike Poland, who is the geophysicist in charge of Yellowstone Volcano Observatory of the USGS. Also Jamie Farrell, he's the assistant research professor with the University of Utah seismograph stations and chief seismologist of the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, and Zach Lifton, geologist with the Idaho Geological Survey, and Mike Stickney, Director of Earthquake Studies Office at the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology. And first, they say there was a March 18, 2018, magnitude 5.7 earthquake near Salt Lake City that hit out of nowhere. And then there was the 6.5 earthquake in central Idaho, March 31st, that hit out of nowhere. And what's with all of these quakes, they said? And will they affect Yellowstone? Well, we know from the shake map that they did shake Yellowstone. They were felt all the way up to 700 miles away in Manitoba, Canada. But they say these questions dominate the internet, especially after the Idaho event. Of course, that was bigger and closer to Yellowstone. It was only 190 miles west of Yellowstone. And in fact, we see spikes in question about Yellowstone erupting every time there's an earthquake in the western USA, like after the July 5th 7.1 Ridgecrest earthquake. And remember that, in California. Now, strong earthquakes are a way of life in the western USA. Since the year 1900, there have been about 20 magnitude 6 or greater earthquakes in the region outside California. This includes such events as the 1983 6.9 Bora Peak, Idaho earthquake, and the 1959 magnitude 7.3 Hebgen Lake, Montana earthquake. Hebgen Lake is just west of the caldera. Now, the magnitude 5 events happen throughout the region almost annually. For example, the recent earthquake near Salt Lake City, magnitude 5 plus earthquakes in 2017 near Soda Springs, Idaho, and Lincoln, Montana. All of these strong events are followed by sequences of aftershocks that can last for years. These aftershocks can be forecast to a large extent because they decay slowly over time following an expected pattern. Some swarms of earthquakes occur in the region as fault slip occurs gradually, The ongoing sequence of magnitude 3 and 4 events near Manhattan, Montana, west of Bozeman, is a good example. And now, the physical map of the western United States shows the locations of strong earthquakes in March 2020 and Basin and Range Extensional Province. The Basin and Range stretches from the Sierra Nevada in the west to the Wasatch and Teton Mountains to the east, and from central Idaho and southwest Montana in the north, all the way to Mexico in the south. The 6.5 Idaho and the 5.7 Utah earthquakes in March of 2020 were associated with faulting in the Basin and Range, modified from Wikipedia. We have the images here. Now, the western United States is very active tectonically. This includes not only the boundaries between tectonic plates in California, Oregon, and Washington, but also what is known as the Basin and Range Province. That's the terrain of alternating mountains and valleys that runs from the Sierra Nevada mountains in the west to the Wasatch and Teton Mountains in the east, and from central Idaho and southwest Montana into Mexico. The Basin and Range is a zone of tectonic extension. Since about 20 million years ago, the crust in this area has stretched in an east-west direction, causing the mountains to rise and the valleys to fall. There are some neat maps and animations of this process. Now, at the base of every mountain range is a fault, the boundary between the basins and the ranges. And when these faults slip, you get earthquakes. This extension does have implications for volcanism. Because of the stretching, the crust within the basin and range is relatively thin, allowing the mantle beneath the basin and range to rise, decompress, and melt. The mantle is a part of the Earth's interior between the metallic core below the mantle and the crust above the mantle. Now, if this melt reaches the surface, a volcano forms. And an example of this, of volcanism, is the Black Rock Desert volcanic field in Utah. And more evidence of the higher heat flow in the basin and range are the numerous hot springs throughout the region, many of which lie along the bases of mountain ranges where hot water rises along the range front faults. And historically, much of the earthquake activity in the basin and range has focused on the edges, namely western Nevada, central Utah, western Wyoming and Montana, and central Idaho. This is reflected in the overall long-term seismic hazard maps of the United States. But other areas of the basin and range are not immune to strong shaking. For example, February 21st, 2008, a magnitude 5.9 earthquake shook the area near Wells in northeast Nevada. Now, do these earthquakes impact Yellowstone? In fact, some do. But only in terms of hydrothermal behaviors. Okay, they do affect Yellowstone as to how the geysers and the hot springs will behave. These are the hydrothermal areas: the geysers, hot spring, fumaroles, mud pots, things like that. After the 1959 magnitude 7.3 Hebgen Lake event, the largest earthquake ever recorded in the Rocky Mountains, at least 289 springs along the Firehole River erupted as geysers, and of these, 160 had no previous record of eruption. Earthquake shaking can also impact the eruption intervals of some geysers. For example, in the months following the 1983 magnitude 6.9 Bora Peak earthquake, the average interval between eruptions of Old Faithful increased by almost 10 minutes. These effects are probably a result of the breakdown of fragile geyser and hot spring plumbing systems caused by ground shaking. In addition, there is a chance that large earthquakes in the basin and range, and throughout the world, of course, can trigger small earthquakes in Yellowstone as the resulting seismic waves pass through. Okay? There is a chance that larger earthquakes in the basin and range and throughout the world can trigger small earthquakes in Yellowstone as resulting seismic waves pass through. These triggered events tend to be very small, with magnitudes less than or equal to 1. These earthquakes, however, do not cause volcanic eruptions at Yellowstone. The last time magma reached the surface, there was a lava flow about 70,000 years ago. Since that time, there have been over 10,000 magnitude 6 plus events in the basin and range. None of those triggered a volcanic eruption. And there might have been a mind-boggling 100,000 magnitude 6 earthquake events in the basin and range since the major explosion that formed Yellowstone caldera 631,000 years ago. So strong earthquakes in the basin and range are something we should expect. The March 31st Central Idaho earthquake is a perfect reminder, a jolt felt by tens of thousands of people, but that caused minimal damage and no injuries, thank goodness. And for more information on earthquake preparedness, you can check out the USGS Government Natural Hazards link, which is at the bottom of this article. The next time someone tells you that one of these earthquakes, which are bound to happen again in the future, is going to cause Yellowstone to erupt, you can explain what's really going on. In other words, yeah, they will affect Yellowstone, but they will affect the hydrothermal areas. The hot springs, geysers, fumaroles, mud pots, things like that. The water plumbing underneath the supervolcano. This is on Yellowstone Caldera Chronicles, the latest issue, and I'll leave a link below for you for this. Thank you for your support.